Welcome back to that God Power channel. This is the channel where we're going to unlock the God Power that's laying dormant on the inside of you. But first, today, what we're going to do is we're going to continue with our breakdown of the book of Matthew. So thank you for everybody who's been subscribing lately, because it's literally doubled from the last 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Like, that's crazy. And I really appreciate all y'all. And thank you for all the people who are watching these Bible breakdowns, because there's a lot of messages to be learned throughout these. So appreciate y'all for rocking with me. But if you haven't seen the other breakdowns of Matthew, you should go back and watch them. And I'm talking about 1 through 16, because we're starting on 17 today. So let's jump into it. At the end of 16, Jesus told them that he was about to die and come back from the dead. All right, so at the beginning of chapter 17, it's like 6 days after Jesus' prediction. Jesus took Peter and the brothers James and John, and he took them up to a mountaintop just to be alone. And as they watched, Jesus, he transformed in front of them. Like, his appearance transformed. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. So he just turned into this like bright light. And then suddenly Moses and Elijah appeared, and they were talking to Jesus. So these disciples saw some supernatural stuff on top of this mountain. Like, they saw Jesus turn into some light, and then Moses from the dead is talking to Jesus, and so is Elijah, the prophet from the dead, talking to Jesus. And Peter, he says, "Is it good for you to be up here, Lord? I'll make 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." And when he was speaking, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and a voice from the cloud said,
"This is my dearly loved son, who brings me great joy. Listen to him."
The disciples were terrified, and they fell face down on the ground. And Jesus was like, "Get up, don't be afraid." And when they looked up, Moses and Elijah were gone, and they only saw Jesus. And they were probably like shaken up, because they just saw just a whole bunch of supernatural stuff just happen in front of them. Even though they've already seen a lot of supernatural stuff, they didn't know the extent of it. So on the way down the mountain, Jesus told them, "Don't tell anyone what you've seen until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." And then they asked Jesus, "Why do the religious teachers say Elijah must return before the Messiah comes?" And then Jesus said, "Elijah is indeed coming first to get everything ready. But I tell you, Elijah has already come, but he wasn't recognized, and they chose to abuse him. And in the same way, they're going to make the Son of Man suffer." And then the disciples realized that Jesus was talking about John the Baptist. So right here is proof in the Bible that reincarnation is real, because John the Baptist was the same spirit as Elijah, according to Jesus right here. So that's the second time he said it, but he's making it very, very, very much clear to them. So after that, a large crowd was waiting for them at the foot of the mountain. And a man came up to Jesus and said, "Lord, have mercy on my son. He has seizures. He suffers terribly, often falling into the fire or the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't even heal him." And Jesus replied, "You faithless and corrupt people, how long must I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." Jesus rebuked the demon and left the boy alone. And that's the first time I ever seen Jesus act like, why do y'all not understand? Like, he seems like an air of frustration at this point. Like, the people are not having faith. So the disciples asked Jesus, "How come we couldn't cast out the demon?" And Jesus said to them, "Because you don't have enough faith. I tell you the truth. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mountain, 'Move from here,' and it will move. Nothing would be impossible." So this is a statement that I really wanted to break down, because people take this and they try to use this as a means of, oh, Jesus is just a fiction and everything is just, fake, and because nobody can make a mountain move. Well, that's a doubt. And if you want to understand what doubts are the opposite of faith. So imagine you have a cup of water, and the water, we could say, is faith, but the air is doubts. You know what I'm saying? They're not the same. They're opposite of each other. Either you're going to have one or you're going to have the other. You can have a whole glass full of faith, or you can have a whole glass empty of air. You feel me? Like, all right. Hopefully you guys got that. Basically, all I'm trying to say is that without 100% faith, the mountain is not going to move. You have to have 100% faith. And 99.9 is not enough. Sometimes you have to have 100, and all times you have to have 100 is what Jesus is saying. Have 100% faith. So after that, they gathered in Galilee, and Jesus told them, the Son of Man will be betrayed into the hands of his enemies. He's going to be killed, but on the third day, he's going to be raised from the dead. And this made all the disciples sad, and they were filled with grief. Even though this is the second time Jesus told them the exact same thing. So Jesus is hammering the point home for them. So in verse 24, when they got to the city, the temple officials came up to Peter and they asked, doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax? And then Peter was like, yeah, he does. And after that, he went into the house and asked Jesus. And Jesus was like, what do you think, Peter? Do kings tax their own people or the people they've conquered? And Peter replied, well, they tax the people they've conquered. And then Jesus was like, well then, the citizens are free. However, we don't want to offend them. So, go down to the lake and start fishing. Open up the mouth of the first fish that you catch, and you're going to find a large silver coin. Take it and pay the tax for both of us. And again, Jesus is doing miracles like blatantly in front of these dudes' face, but the point of this is Jesus was trying to tell them that since we're sons and daughters of the Heavenly Father, we're free. The citizens are free. You feel me? Like, but since we're good people, we're not trying to offend nobody. If that's y'all's rules, we'll play by y'all's rules because it doesn't hurt nothing. So go get the coin out the fish, bro. Pay the tax for both of us. You feel me? It's just that easy. So that ends the chapter 17. It was a shorter chapter. And I thank y'all for rocking out with me. Hopefully you learned something. And if you like it, click the like button and subscribe. And thank you for all the new subscribers lately. And make sure you click that bell to be notified when I post new videos, because I'll be posting new breakdowns every 1 to 3 days. So I thank y'all again for rocking with me, and have a beautiful, lovely day. And remember that you got that God power.
Loving the God power. I got the God power.
Tapping the source, calling the vibes. I just thank God I'm alive. I just thank God that I'm fly. I just thank God for my rhymes. Every night, these lyrics that's up in my spirit, I know.